Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the last card of my Father's Day series for 2019. I do apologize that I didn't go as long as I wanted it to be, but at least I wanted to make one last card. Now what I'm going to be doing here is just doing some distress inking onto a piece of Bristol smooth paper, and I am using my little blending tool here to do it. I pulled out my distress ink, that is the Moldon, and then the distress oxide on this one, and I forgot, I think it's cracked pistachio. So I'm just adding a little bit of that to blend it in there, just doing some quick blending, and then I am going to be flipping it over and do some ink blending on the top. So for the background, I wanted to create a scene, and this is going to be a sky scene at the top, and a grassy sky scene. So for this, I am using tumble glass on the distress oxide, and I did it backwards. Normally what I will do is use my little stencil from the top to bottom, but I wanted to do it a little bit backwards to see the different effect that this created. Now this I just cut out a piece of scrap paper, and I cut out little little rivets to make it look like clouds. And then I pulled out the broken china to add a little bit more depth to the first two layers on the top, just kind of flipping it so I can make the clouds look a little bit different, but I wanted it to look like the grass or the green was blending into the sky. So once I was done with that, I am going to be cutting a little die here, and this is to create an interactive card. I actually haven't made any of these before, but what this does is creates a little channel for a slider mechanism. At the same time that I ran it through my die cutting machine, I cut the frame out with my favorite Avriel die, and here I am just kind of making it work together. I colored this little card from a Cartabella stamp set that I purchased a while back, and I thought it would be perfect for this scene that I was creating. Now, I was making this on the go, so I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing, so bear with me as I do go and make a couple of boo-boos. And so what I'm doing here, I'm just cutting some double-sided foam tape that I am going to be using to create a little channel for my penny to slide. Because I don't have one of those little slider products that you buy. I'm using a penny, which you can use, it's totally fine. And I'm just moving it around the little channel to make sure that it's going to be fitting and sliding through that section quite well. So I am just making sure that it goes the right way. I cut a couple more strips, and when I did with this, I kind of doubled it, so it creates that extra little layer for the penny to slide freely and it doesn't get stuck. So I'm just moving it around and around, just making sure that it's going to be able to move freely, because you don't want it to get stuck once you glue it onto your card base. That would be a big no-no. So I am just going to be cutting the rest of the tape here to add it around the frame here and put it there. So I also wanted to mention, I apologize if I don't have all the information. I am going to be trying to put a blog post on this as well with a little bit more of information, but I am actually out of town, and I had done this video and I was planning on having it done before I left town, but that did not work. So I am doing my voiceover away from home. So that's why this will also be my last card for the series, because Father's Day is already tomorrow and I don't have any crafting stuff to make more cards while I'm here, but it'll work just fine. So again, what I am doing here is just adding more of that foam tape onto the card base to create, to make it hold the whole area. I am going to be putting a little bit in the center so it doesn't get squished when I put it through the mail, just so that way it supports it. And again, I am doubling it as well, because you want to the tape to have that double layer on here. And here I did the two that I added here, and then I am going to mention again, like I said, this was my first time kind of doing it here on the go. I think I'd only made one other card that was kind of like with the slider mechanism here, but I had misplaced my little dies that did cut this little rivet, so I had to keep looking for them, and I found them. So that's why I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to create a card. Also because that little stamp that I had, it was perfect for these, as I was creating more of the Father's Day cards. I do have to look through my stash, and I need to find some more masculine type of stamps because I don't have that many. I do have quite a few florals, which I absolutely love, and they're always perfect for any friend or female friends or males, moms, that you mail out. But the guys don't quite like flowers too much, but you never know. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I am adding that little channel that I die cut. I'm adding it to the card base because when it slides, I still want it to look there. I mean, you could leave it like that if you want to, but I thought that with the white background, it kind of didn't look quite right, so I decided to add it there. Later on, I looked at it and it was a little bit off because I was trying to do this looking at it from a different angle, so it wasn't quite centered, and I tried to fix it while I was doing here. Also, my little penny was getting stuck for some reason, so I decided to remove it so I could move the tape around just a tiny bit so I could have that a little bit of extra room for it to move around. You can see at the top that I kind of ruined my card base a little bit, but don't worry about it because I am going to fix it. So that's why I still kept using it as I was making it, because I had a different plan for that. So just kind of doing the last little minute touches before I glue it all and press it all down, because once you press it down, it is going to be very difficult for you to remove it or take it down. So making sure that it's going to slide and move. Another thing that I did do is I pulled out my little what is that called? I keep forgetting what it's called, but it's you use it to a powder tool to remove powder, or when you are going to be doing some embossing, so that way the embossing powder doesn't get stuck to anywhere that you don't want it to be. So this works perfect for that. It also works for when you have a little bit of extra adhesive, so it can remove that glue and the penny won't get stuck there. So again, it did take a little bit of fussing with it, like I said, so I apologize for that. But like I was saying, this was just kind of like I was making it as I went. Now here you see me fuss with a couple of different options or different things to put on my penny for when I add the little card. So first I added a little piece of foam tape that didn't work because it kept getting stuck. Then I cut one into a circle, didn't work. So I cut a super tiny square out of those little foam squares, and that's where I adhere my card. So as you can see, my card is ready to go, but the little problem here is that the penny was rolling around, and obviously you don't want your card to be flipping because that would be crazy. So I am just trying to play with the little channel here to see what I can do to make sure that my card's not going to be flipping. I decided to go and glue it back again, and here is where I was thinking to add maybe another piece of tape on the back, or something that would hold that little card in place so it doesn't twirl around. I just wanted to keep moving. And then this is where I decided to grab another little piece of foam tape. I was going to put it to the back, but that wasn't going to work, so I ended up putting it on the front. But another thing that I did is I added a little circle, a little piece of circle, and I apologize, this cut off, but all I did is just cut out a little circle from a cardstock, put it in the inside, and added that little square to it, so that way it looks like it's another little circle that just slides there. So it worked out perfect. Now I was also going through some images that I had already colored and die cut to put here to create my scene, and I had this little airplane, so I thought that it would look really cute, though it is very unproportional, and you will never have, well, you could, I guess, have an airplane that close to the ground to a car, but you know what, this is card making, so you can do whatever you want. So what I am doing here is just trying to play with the scene. I did have to draw that little cloud because I didn't have the stamp pulled out, so I had to go in and draw it myself. So I just began gluing everything with my Simon Says tacky glue, and just creating the scene how I kind of had started it, and decided to just go ahead and not use that little banner that says "You're the best," because I was going to be using a different sentiment on the bottom. And I actually did pull out the stamp set again because I was getting the sentiment from that stamp set. So this is from the Lawn Fawn Plain and Simple stamp set, and the sentiment I'm pulling is just says Happy Father's Day. So I am also pulling out this little stamp set that has like a little cloud trail that that the airplane could be pulling through. Now because I had the foam tape onto this card and it wasn't even. You can see there that my stamping didn't quite go all the way. I missed a little bit, but I'll show you how I fix that later on the video. So I am just putting my sentiment together, and I am stamping it with some VersaFine ink that says Happy Father's Day. And that was pretty much all I did to this card. Now I will show you how I fixed that after I show you the inside, or what I did to the inside. This was so much fun to play with. I just couldn't help myself playing with it. But on the inside, all I decided to do is just add a little bit of distress ink to ink the bottom to make it look like there's a little bit of grass. So I did the same. Now you can see here I was having a little bit more of a hard time blending because the paper, it's not as smooth, but it worked out just fine either way. So here is how I am going to be fixing that little boo-boo that I made by adding the frame. So the paper that I originally had cut was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and when you use your the little panel to cut it out, it cuts it smaller. So it also left me with this little frame that I trimmed even more so I could still add it, but still have a little bit of that white border around the card base. So it worked out just perfect. So I went ahead and stuck it to that. And then, like I said, to fix that little cloud section, I just used a color pencil from one of my Prismacolors, and I found the one that matched the closest to the ink that I used, and I just drew the little clouds in. After I was done with this, that was pretty much everything that completed my card. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that everybody's having a wonderful weekend. If you are a father, I hope that you have a wonderful Father's Day. But either way, all the fathers in your lives, I hope that they have a wonderful one. And I'll catch you guys in the next video soon. Thank you for joining me for this mini series. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.